Welcome to the Sports Trading Card Hall of Fame. Today I want to talk about one of my stories of cardboard, which in this case is going to be about the Pete Rozelle commemorative card. This is the first SP card. And by SP card, what I mean is there are three types of SP cards. There is the short print card, which just means that the printing plates didn't align with the number of cards in the set. There is the Upper Deck SP set, which started in 1993 and continued on for quite a few years. And then there is the SP, like a special print card, which is basically a commemorative card or a special themed card that is a standalone card that is not a part of a set. Although Proline did do an SP set, but I'm not going to worry about that. SP cards, in terms of the special print cards, were cards that were kind of the beginning of the chase card world. Chase cards did predate the 1989 Pete Rozelle card, in the guise that they were just more cards from the set, or specific cards from the set that you wanted to hunt down. And so that particular reason for chase card that was the whole core of card collecting in the 1980s, which was we're trying to complete sets and we're trying to get special cards of special players, for whether it was for your portfolio or for your team set or for sale or whatever it was. As you were opening packs, that's what you were hoping to find. And the whole point of a chase card is you might open packs until you get to that card, and once you get to that card, you're good. You might complete a set, but you want to go ahead and get another one, or you want to find one that's in really good shape. A chase card gets you chasing through packs. That's the whole point. And there was a special case of more rare cards that collectors were trying to push through in the late 80s, which was error cards, known error cards. The most famous being the Billy Ripken card of 1989. Which one? Well, that was a good question because there were quite a few of them. But aside from those cards, all cards and packs came at the same rate. Now, there were some Fleer insert cards that were a little bit more rare, and they were about the only case where there was something that was not coming through at the same rate as the rest of the cards in the card set. And so those special cards, those more rare cards, were cards that for collectors who did care, they tend to chase after the cards, but there weren't enough of them to really drive collectors too quickly, because if you were trying to collect the Fleer cards, collecting the Fleer All-Star cards didn't take that many packs to really pursue that small set. And so the very things that would really drive people in the early to mid 1990s, that idea hadn't quite come through, which is a card that you're lucky to get in one box, and it might take multiple boxes to try to find that card. That was something that was a unique thing to create. Nobody had done that. People had happened to luck into it by having error cards, but setting aside error cards, insert cards were one per pack. I mean, they just were. It didn't matter if it was over in basketball with the Fleer All-Stars, or whether it was in football with the 1,000-Yard Club cards, or over in baseball. You also had the Topps All-Star cards. That whole experience of being lucky to find a card in a pack was a novel concept in the case of Topps All-Star cards, most collectors didn't find them because they were in a particular type of packaging. And in 1991, Skybox and NBA Hoops did the same thing, where any time that you bought one of those blister packs, it had the cards in it. So they were still one per pack if you bought the right types of packs. But that was about finding new places and new ways to chase after cards. The idea of having a card set that was difficult to find in packs was new, and in 1990, it was just starting to happen. In 1991, it became a little bit more common with Pacific Picks the Pros and with Donruss Elite. There were, also with Pinnacle Team Pinnacle, there were a few cases where cards were really tough to come by. And even with the Fleer insert cards in 1990, those were more rare than what we would see in other sports or in other card sets. So we would be chasing after those cards, but they didn't quite have the allure of an SP card, mainly because they were part of a set where you would get multiple cards from the set in these packs. So if you opened a box, you were going to get multiple insert cards. It's just that the rarity of getting any individual card might be the same as an SP card, but the SP card felt more rare because of the fact that, well, it was an individual card that would come up 1 every 2 or 1 every 3 boxes, which a Fleer All-Pro card might do the same thing, but it just doesn't feel that way. That's the whole point. And an SP card feels special. It feels rare. It feels like, wow, I can't believe I got that. The Pete Rozelle card definitely had a distinct feel to it, which was something that you wanted to chase after, but it was a common man chase card. It was the kind of card that somebody like myself would actually feel like I could get one of these out of a pack, something I could afford. But in 1990, that was expanded out by cards that nobody could afford, nobody could honestly consider pulling out of a pack. The Pro Set Lombardi hologram and the Reggie Jackson autograph in Upper Deck Baseball. Those two SP cards were on a whole nother level to where even the high rollers were lucky if they could even consider pursuing one of these cards. Those were the kinds of cards where if you got one out of a pack, you celebrated because you were just flat out lucky, unbelievably lucky. There were a staggeringly limited 10,000 of the holograms from Pro Set, which is, it sounds stupid today, but there were millions of copies of the regular release cards. So that means that the relationship was like 200 to 1. That's kind of what you were looking at with that hologram. Incredibly long odds to ever get the card. And in 1991, when you had the Donruss Elite, where you had a whole card set, which were all numbered out of 10,000, and then Pacific Picks the Pros was the same way. These cards were more accessible, but still extremely rare to get. And so what card collectors with money could do is they could rip through multiple boxes trying to chase after these Donruss Elite and Pacific Picks the Pros cards. And if you had that kind of money and you could really put in the effort, you could actually make some headway, which inspired other rare SP cards to come down the road and evolved the rare inserts and the rare parallels that we would know in the mid-90s. This was all a part of this process, but you don't just want to do this for the high rollers, you want to do this for everybody. You want everyone to be thinking about your product and going, oh man, I know what I want to get. I know what I want to get. So Pro Set in 1990, they had the Santa Claus card, the one that was actually in packs, and they had the Super Pro card, and they had the Payne Stewart card. So they had a couple of cards that came up in packs that were special standalone cards that were not a part of the card set that people could, it was a great advertising move because people would see an unusual card and go, what's that? And it really helped to add more variety to the experience of cards. But again, it was also a bridge to insert sets. So in 1991, Pro Set had almost an SP card set. In the case of Pro Line, they literally did have an SP card set. Multiple cards that maybe they were numbered, maybe they weren't numbered, but still it was a larger number of cards they were trying to pursue. In 1992, NBA Hoops had a number of different SP cards that were distinct standalone cards. Some of them were autographed, some of them were without the autograph. But you would open up packs and you would get some insert cards, but you would also get an SP card, and the SP card felt distinct and special and rare and super. It was a celebration of its own existence. And it carried through 1992, 1993. In fact, even with Upper Deck, starting in 1991, they did an SP set where every release of Upper Deck had another SP card numbered along. So in 1991 Upper Deck, Low Series, SP1. High Series, SP2. 92 Low Series, SP3, SP4, and on. You built it over time, over years. And so you were actually crafting something as you were going through these SP cards, so they felt special. But over in NBA Hoops, where they didn't even bother with the name or the numbering for them, you pull one out of a card, one pack out of a card, it has special foil on it, and it felt like you were lucky to get that card. Maybe it was one per box, maybe one was one every other box. However it was, these types of things really helped to invigorate more common base collectors. We were having but we were watching the card industry slowly evolve into insert cards or insert sets. And this was a stumbling block as they were going along, where in 1992, Fleer started to really build a whole model for rare insert sets by having multiple releases, and through those multiple releases, there were different insert sets that you got from here, or from here, or from here. And they were tough to come by. They were not one per pack, which meant you had to open a lot of packs to try to get these cards. So that means if you were trying to complete these sets from all on your own, just from packs, you would have to go find this type of card pack and open those packs until you got a complete set. Find another type, rack packs, open those, and then over here you could do the jumbo packs or whatever. It meant you had to go through a lot of packs to get all of these cards. And that inspired the explosion of insert cards that would come around, where by 1994 you'd have easy to come by insert cards and you would have one per box insert cards all in the same experience. And so it gave different layering for collectors to collect different types of chase cards. But those types of chase cards did come out of a very specific place, which was the fact that there could be just one card that you got to get that one card. Doesn't even go with the set. You just got to get that card. And the Pete Rozelle card was the beginning of that journey. And the Pete Rozelle choice for the card makes perfect sense, because it was Pete Rozelle's administration that approached Lud Denny about creating an NFL card set. So it makes sense that the company that Lud Denny ultimately created would give a commemorative card for the end of Pete Rozelle's time as commissioner, which I believe is the first commissioner card for the NFL. It was a card that did start to generate some interest in a time where there wasn't a lot of conversation about cards. There were still very few card companies operating at that particular time, and over in football, which was still kind of a quiet part of the market, there were only 3 card companies, period. And so this one card was very distinct from everything else, and it helped to elevate the image of the NFL, or the image of Pro Set, because of its distinction and the fact that it was an unusual talking point. Now, it would be the Santa Claus card that would come later on in the year. That was the thing that would really start a huge conversation, and then the Lombardi hologram in 1990 completely redefined how we thought about cards. That and the Reggie Jackson really did shake up the whole hobby. So the Pete Rozelle card was not a card that itself reshaped the hobby. It was the starting point. It was the beginning of the journey. But just because you're the beginning of the journey, but you're not actually the thing that changes the hobby, that doesn't mean that you're not an important part of the story, and that doesn't mean that you shouldn't be a major subject of conversation. And so this is what I wanted to do. I wanted to bring this card to light to point out that this was the beginning of where all of this, all the things that you understand about cards, because like right now, the whole hobby is nothing but chase cards. Literally, that's all it is. It's chase cards. This was the beginning of that, and it was just a little ball of snow that rolled into a big monstrous affair, which is what it is today. But this was the beginning. So I want to make sure that people know this card was out there, and it is special. It is something to pay attention to, because it was the only one at this point, and very soon it would not be the only one. So I think that's all that I want to say about this card. I'm hoping it is. I'm probably going to end this video and then go, oh yeah. I'll probably put it in the comments if there is something else I want to talk about. But it's a pretty good overview of what came because of this particular card. So I'm also going to be talking about Manaureum in my next video. So definitely check that video out if it's already out. If it's not out, then look forward to it when it comes out. I don't know the order that you're watching these videos. But if you haven't had a chance to subscribe to the channel, please do so, because I love covering all these stories of the history of sports cards. It's the reason this channel exists. So definitely do subscribe if you haven't had a chance. Check out the other videos, and thank you very much for watching.